Good evening and welcome to Deep Dive. I think it's the third edition that we are doing, and there was a little gap in the middle. One was thanks to Eid, and I hope all of you had a lovely Eid, safe Eid, stayed home, stayed with your loved ones. The other was unforeseen in my part because we in Calcutta were hit by a huge cyclone called Amphan. You have read about it, heard about it, and we were out of connectivity for about a week or so. And there are still parts of Calcutta which are submerged in darkness and pretty much has very little connectivity. I am one of the luckier ones who has full connectivity back and never lost power. One of the luckier ones who didn't struggle for drinking water, didn't struggle for food or shelter or anything. But I think of the thousands who were out on the streets, less fortunate ones whose lives were just completely devastated with this completely unforeseen cyclone that had happened to hit us. At the same time that we are going through a pandemic, double whammy, can't get worse than that. But nonetheless, all that is behind us and something we have to live with. As I said in Irishman, it is what it is. And it's with great pleasure that I want to introduce my very, very good friend today, Afrin Huda. Afrin and I go back a very long time, actually. We have almost hunted dinosaurs together in the streets of Dhaka. Our first interaction was when she was in the Uniliver team. At that time, LBB and Lever Brothers Bangladesh Limited team in their corporate communication division. And we used to do their internal magazines together. And we became friends, very good friends, so much so that when Afrin had her firstborn, I was there waiting outside the operation theater, waiting the first in line to donate blood if need be. So I still feel very proud of that. Thankfully, that occasion did not arise. The baby did not need any blood, neither did the mother. Mother of two wonderful boys, one very logical, one very creative person. Afrin herself is a brilliant person. Apart from being people know her as a crack HR person who's been at the helm of many large organization HR changes and HR functions, starting from Uniliver to Standard Chartered to Robi and now at RB. And for the old-fashioned people like me, it's Reckitt and Benkiser. I'm actually old enough to remember Reckitt and Coleman, but it's RB to just we'll call it RB. Afrin has donned all those hats from corporate communication to managing changes to cultural connectivity to basic HR work. She's done it all. But I know her above and beyond that as a wonderful human being, as a warm, compassionate human being who's always by her friends. And she's a wonderful company and a wonderful friend to begin with. And I'm very fortunate to have her with me right now, talking about empathy. I think it's a word that's very important in today's world because look around and you'd see a lot of strife, a lot of darkness, a lot of struggle. And what we can offer each other, we may not be able to offer each other help in real terms, but we can always offer each other empathy. And with that, let me welcome Afrin to this forum. Stop me whenever you want to, because you know when I start talking, I don't stop. So it's really up to you, Afrin, to rein me. Here you go. Over to you, Afrin. Welcome to Deep Dive.
Thank you so much, Casey. Okay, let me take a second to, just sort of absorb what you had just said. Beautiful words, okay? Yeah. I think I need to bolt myself down so that, I just don't, pop up in the air, feeling, all lightheaded with so much of, euphemism. Casey and I have been friends forever, as he said. But the only mistake that you made, I met you before Unilever, Casey, if you remember.
Oh, that's right. That's right. How could I forget that session, that interview session?
That epic session.
For an interview for a job. And at the job interview, we did not know what to ask this brilliant girl. So sat around and one of our colleagues, a very senior colleague, I'm not going to name him, he's a famous name in Bangladesh. He looked at her and said, "Do you sing?" And she said, "Yes, I do. Will you sing for us?" And she flawlessly sang a song. Of course, we couldn't afford it at that time. But yes, that's some story.
So I think the viewers now have an endorsement of the fact that when you said that I'm a crackpot, I am actually a crackpot. Okay, I like to call myself a crackpot. Yeah, so I am a crackpot. I think I'm a very spontaneous person, and friends like Casey bring the best out of me. I mean, he's seen me in a very positive light. He's been there for me whenever I needed him. We've seen, ups and downs of life together. And we've been in touch for more than 20 years now. So a long time. So coming back to, empathy. Empathy is, it's something that I have a lot of respect for. I think it's an inherent or indispensable characteristic a person should adopt and consciously try to practice, because everybody has it. And I think I'll start with first breaking one of the myths of, empathy, where people think that, they sort of blur the line, the fine line between empathy and sympathy. They even sound the same, right? So basically, it's not about feeling bad for a person, or just telling a person I'm there and I can understand, because you can never understand a person's journey, a person's trial, tribulations, or pain the person
And the
goes
two
through.
words I probably hate most is it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's gonna be okay.
That's
Okay.
worse. That's worse.
Yeah, it's gonna
I'm a
be
pixel about
okay.
Benkiser, but I'm
Yeah.
saying it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, and I understand what you go through. Honestly, you don't understand when, what I'm going through, or what you're going through, or what, another person is going through. So everybody have their own battles. They have their own trials and tribulations in life, because it's their journey to walk. And I don't want to sound like a, philosophical fool here, but that's the truth. And when we talk about empathy, it's about standing back and trying to understand why a person is reacting in a certain manner. There might be a day then when I find, all this jolly and warm Casey all of a sudden snaps at me for some reason. He can. He just can.
Hasn't yet,
And
but it might. Yeah.
yeah, and and I have two choices. I can take it at heart that, okay, Casey was rude to me, or I can step back and try to think, okay, this is not the person I know. Maybe there's a reason behind it. And if I try to sort of understand, or try to understand that there might be a reason, and dig down, what actually is bothering him, I think my reaction to his, often, and often more than less, I usually have a lot of debates with my line boss, and he's been an extremely patient person from him. For Mane, as a person, he's been extremely patient with me, and he counsels me. So he's my mentor, and he makes me sit, making me understand the value of empathy. So every time I burst out, I'll have a burst of temper, by some process not happening. Why isn't happening at my expected skill? Why isn't the person performing the way he or she is supposed to perform? And he will make me sit. He will make me sit and say that, okay, did you consider these points? And obviously I go blank because I haven't. Okay. And then he said, okay, can you think of the reasons why? Okay, has this project, or has this deliverable been foreseen to come over these hurdles? And then I stop to think that, okay, yeah, maybe, probably. And then I take a completely different route of action, which in the process not only creates good relationships, but it also helps, getting things done which are supposed to be done. This is the professional front of it. I'll come to a very personal, because empathy is something that crosses, it cuts across personal, professional realm, both worlds, right? So Casey would know, I've got two teenager boys, okay, yeah, dealing with their hormonal rages and everything. And I often have to be the referee between them and my mom, who are completely two generations, right? My mom is of one generation. She thinks that this would be good for her grandsons, whereas they have their own way of thinking, and looking at things and perspectives and all. And so often they have these mood swings. Often they would try to put elders in place, a behavior that we're still not used to, right? We would want to we are socialized in a manner where, good or bad, we would like to just keep quiet when our parents say something. But in case of this generation, that case is simply not possible, because they'll give you 101 logics showing you that you're not right, showing you that you're probably being sexist just by saying that black man. Okay,
Mm.
so
Mm.
yeah, so they
Racist,
have their
yeah.
own
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah. So in that case, I have two choices as a mother. I can either go and put him in his place, that you're not old enough to talk to your parents like this, or to elders like this, or I can give him some space, which I often do. Okay, I give them space whenever we have a difference of opinion, because I know he's just going to flare up, and with him I'm also going to flare up, and that's not going to get us anywhere. So we take a time out of a day or a two. It depends on the intensity of the fight. It has gone up to 5 days even. And then when we understand that, okay, both of us are now in a civilized mind frame, we sit down, I say my points, he says his points, we come to a conclusion, and we deal with it. Now that's empathy, trying to understand where he is coming from. Huh. এমনও হতে পারে, sympathy would be quite the opposite. My mom would come and say, আহারে বাচ্চাটাকে কেন বকছিস? That's what grandparents are for. আহারে ও চাচ্ছে, ওকে দে না। Okay, ও
I
খেতে
just want to
চাচ্ছে
take
না,
one
ওকে
minute.
কেন জোর
I just
করছিস?
want to
হ্যাঁ,
take 1 minute from you. I just want to take 1 minute and
yeah, yeah.
point out something that's you said something very, very interesting. And you just said in the passing, but it stuck with me. You said that you have a boss who's more of a mentor, who's a line boss, who's more of a mentor to you. Now, I think we need to keep in mind that this lady we are talking to here, Afrin Huda, is part of the board of RB, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, and she still looks for a mentor. I think that's also humility. I think that's another topic I'd like to touch upon with her in a short while. I think, along with empathy, humility has been short supply lately as well in this world. Fred, go ahead.
So, I'm blissfully ignorant, Casey. Nobody knows that better than you do. Okay, I've always been, I've had that child locked up in me. I'm into cult mythology and mythology of what all sorts, and still in cartoons and books and
Likewise.
vampire
Same
movies.
here.
Yeah.
Same here.
So there's always to learn, and I take a lot of pride when I say the fact that every single day I learn something from my boys. I learn from my maid. She's a little girl. Okay, she is like 17, 18. She's here with us. Luckily, she's a live-in. She's a part of the family, and she also teaches me stuff. She also teaches me, how it's okay to be okay. It's okay to to have a bad day. So yeah, learning is part of the process till you go to your grave. I mean,
True.
that's how I see it,
No,
right?
absolutely true.
So
Absolutely.
and
No, I hear you. I
my
hear you loud and clear on that one. I hear you loud and clear. My
yeah,
only
and
thing that I want to tell you, I want to ask you is probably that, you said that you need to practice empathy. I look around today and I see a lot of people losing their jobs. The best they can expect is a salary cut, but the worst that's happening, and it's happening all around us, are losing their jobs, losing livelihoods. I'm talking about salaried people. There are small business which are going out of business. There are iconic shops that are shutting down because there is no customer today. That is a huge jolt. That is a massive jolt to a person, an economy, a country, a culture, a society. Uh, how do we develop empathy around it? How do we ensure that people in this day and age would show empathy towards each other? When is this one guy who's been earning whatever, 5, 7, 8,000 takas a month loses a job because of whatever reason, that the boss can't pay the rent anymore, the boss can't afford to keep him on the roster anymore? How is empathetic towards the boss? How is that possible?
I was reading this article on LinkedIn. I forgot which company it is. I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, probably it's Uber CEO or something. Please forgive me, my short memory, but they have been laying off people, and they laid off 30% of their whole
Airbnb.
population. Airbnb, right?
Airbnb.
And yeah. And what I was reading this blog by one of its employees, and he was writing in favor of the CEO. Okay. And the story goes like this, that the CEO had sent each and every one a personalized letter. Okay, sort of encapsulating the probable feelings or the probable trials they are going to go through, and being transparent why the company had to take the call as it is. Okay, so communication, be making it transparent, making it genuine, is empathy in a form itself, Casey. Okay, so what he had said is, okay, so they also took a lot of measures to it. Okay, when you outplace or when you outsource or lay off people, there's a certain change management process that you follow, which is where, there has to be a series of communications, there has to be a series of counselings, one-to-one town halls. You can put up an outplacement office where you help the person to get a job, besides the monetary benefits that you give or what you can afford to give. Now, he had stated all those reasons and had worded it in such a manner that the person understood the logic why the company had to take this call.
Yeah. The only difference is that the people who are getting sacked, people are talking about the 5-6-7,000 টাকা মাসে রোজগার করে.
No.
I mean, not even literate. Daily returner, কোনো চিঠি কাজ করবে না. আমি জানি না কি কাজ করে. আমি ওর সাইড থেকে ভাবার চেষ্টা করছি যে আমার এই সীমিত টাকা চলে গেল, কালকে আমার কি হবে? আমার বস তো এখনো গাড়ি চালায়, আমার বস তো এখনো বাড়ি আছে, আমার বস তো গত 20 বছর ধরে ব্যবসা করেছেন, হোয়াটএভার, একটা পুঁজি জমিয়েছেন, আমি কি করলাম, আমার কি হবে?
এখানে তুমি যদি বলো, it's more of a socio-economic context. আমি তোমাকে হয়তো একটা কর্পোরেশনের ফিল দিলাম, রাইট? Now there are many more parameters that come into place. সরকার কি করছে, হ্যাঁ, তারপরে প্রাইভেট সেক্টর যারা জায়ান্টস আছে, যারা এখনো who are still in the in the position to do something or give back to the society, tara ki korche, whether they're coming together not to replicate efforts, seta korche kina. But when it comes down to a person to person, it's always better to give the true picture in a soft way, rather than falsifying the information.
No, that's absolutely correct.
So you can hide facts.
You can't hide facts.
Even like if you say things which you don't mean, people have that sixth sense to understand that it's not genuine. So when I talk about empathy has to be complemented with transparent communication, which is genuine, which you actually mean. Which is why that blogger, in spite of being, impacted, in spite of facing the fact that he will not have a job tomorrow, and by the end of the month, he'll have to have bills to pay and, food to bring to the table and whatnot, he still felt good about it.
Yeah, I guess so. It's honestly very difficult for me to visualize that. But I'm being very honest with you, because the examples I'm seeing around me and you will see around you are very different examples, I suppose. And there are people who are really going through a hard time. I've seen people there are a couple of people who have taken to begging. Honestly, there are some small-time traders who take to begging. But then again, who would they beg from? There's nobody to give them arms anymore. on the road.
Hmm.
So, things are getting a little sticky outside. That's an unfortunate truth, I guess. It's just something we'll have to live with on our conscience for a long, long time coming. But
but in the
yeah.
ওটা so empathy নিয়ে যখন আমি কথা বলছি, so ওটা আবার it boils down to you as a unique individual. তুমি দেখছো somebody is begging, right? I'm not saying, please don't get me wrong, this is just my personal philosophy, okay?
Sure.
And you know that, I'm a spiritual person and everything. If I have the capability of alleviating a person's problem even for one day, I would do that.
You would do that.
It might, even if it's small, I'm to give an answer. Ekta choto bachchake jodi ami dekhi, it always reminds me, it could have been my child in there. আমার বাচ্চা আজকে হতে পারতো এটা, আল্লাহর অশেষ রহমত, আমার বাচ্চা is much more blessed. But if I have the capability of buying dinner, it's not a permanent solution.
Correct.
But can I alleviate, can I do anything about that problem? If I can, I will.
Yeah.
এরকম যদি সবাই একটু একটু করে চিন্তা করে, তাহলে তুমি চিন্তা করো the ripple effect that comes through. এই যে সবজিওয়ালা যারা বিক্রি করছে, they're going out of business, right? ভ্যানে করে যারা বিক্রি করছে, এই যে আমাদের বিভিন্ন কমিউনিটি আছে, সেই কমিউনিটির আমরা যদি ঠিক করি যে না, যেহেতু সবজি তো সবারই লাগবে, why not we have this person here every day and give it to him, buy from him, rather than send our drivers to Unimart or whatever. So আমি জানি না এই মানে এখন the times are so crazy, এই ছোটখাটো মানে ইনিশিয়েটিভে কিছু হবে না কেসি, because it will have long term effects. So we have to come with a sustainable solution which will not only come from any specific sector. Everybody has to join hands together and collaborate. We cannot afford to replicate initiatives. আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, তুমি দেখো একটা মানে এই সামান্য রোজার মধ্যে চাল ডাল কতজনা দিল, বাংলাদেশের পরিপ্রেক্ষিতে বলছি, যে 1 কেজি চাল বা that is what they were giving out. তো ওগুলো যদি দিতেই হয়, আলাদা আলাদা করে দেওয়ার কারণটা কি? Why don't you join hands?
Yeah,
it has a much more bigger impact.
But isn't that part of the empathy that I need to join hands? That's also part of learning.
Exactly.
And that's what corporate culture thrives on as well.
এবং সবচেয়ে
sorry, go ahead.
But we're not doing that. এক নম্বর, we're not doing that. 2 নম্বর হইতেছে, I would not be very proud to make this comment, but I will still do it. As human beings, we like to portray ourselves in a better light than we are in. যার ফলে এবং that greed impedes you from joining hands. Maybe somebody might steal my thunder. Okay,
it's also a big insight. It was a big business insight as well, that something that is driving business for a long time is personal greed and avarice, and that's how many people succeed. Many people go over to to greater heights in their minds, in their own eyes, which I guess to each their own in that case. But I want to ask you, is there any formal way of institutionalizing these things, especially in today's day and age, with this pandemic running around, with people literally running for cover and people being so detached with each other? Can large corporations take steps to ensure there is empathy that's running through and through the entire fabric of that corporation? I'm not saying of society or culture at large, but of a certain corporation, large corporation, for example. What can we do?
I
What
can
kind of coverage?
I would like to এই ক্ষেত্রে I think RB
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
empathy does play a big role. I think mostly due to, since it's one of our living values of our compass. We have a compass of values, and okhane the first and foremost value is that we keep our consumers and people first, and shekhane empathy, we have practiced it. So and we have had live demonstrations, live stories being shared across the RB world, jekhane we have sort of made ourselves heard and taken steps, how we should deal with diversity and inclusion after the America disaster. So আচ্ছা থাকবে না কেন, এখন কথা হচ্ছে যে you can have it in words. প্রত্যেকটা organization it's there in the words. It's like that casting stone that Moses got from God, the 10 commandments Moses
Right.
received
The
from
tablets,
God,
yes.
right?
The original
Yeah, the
tablet.
tablet, so the purpose of a company, or the values of a company, the missions and vision of a company, it's all there. I'm sure every company has it in some way or the other, but the crux lies in whether as top management, as an employee, do you believe in it or not?
And you
Does
acting.
it, yeah, does it make you a better person or not? যতক্ষণ না তুমি বিশ্বাস না করবে ততক্ষণ তো তুমি you are not going to act on it.
Yeah.
Because action is nothing but a reflection of your belief system.
And I believe that's where the function or the discipline that you are championing over the last however many years, human resources. And I think it's human resources has not got its due in the sun in the last whatever years, because most companies look at human resources as somebody who will get me a candidate for interview, nothing beyond that. Thankfully, there are some large companies who look at human resource something else, when there is people development, there is change management, there are empathy issues and humility that are addressed by HR. But largely, HR has been limited to, did you find my candidate? Is there an interview slated tomorrow? Now, you have walked that journey. You have walked a pretty long journey. Even today, I think today more than ever, a good job interview is even that much more important, because you have so many candidates right now. There are so many, very good candidates who are in desperate need for a job. But therein lies a trick, no? Because people are so desperate for a job, they'll go to any length to get a job. And therein you need to step in. That's where HR would step in and lay down certain practice and processes. I'd like to hear from you that, how do you build an empathy on that? Because now every interview will hear some story of layoff or downsizing, etc. How do you differentiate? There is quickly this effect of you become sympathetic toward the person and not necessarily empathetic toward the person. So how do you distinguish?
আমার ক্ষেত্রে কেসি আমার answerটা অতটা contextual হবে না, because thankfully RB has not been adversely impacted as other corporations.
Good.
Being the industry that we are in hygiene, basically.
Right.
Health and hygiene. So it's a more relevant industry. We have been, touch wood, we've been doing good, and we've been like all out there. People have been there, risking their lives, trying to put our customers in good hands. But I'll tell you how it's done. It's innate human nature that the first impression makes the best. So ওটাতে তো কিছু হাত দেওয়া যাবে না। So ওই subjectiveness-টা কমানোর জন্য there are certain HR tools যেখানে you do a psychometric test where you can get a psychographic profile of the person. Okay, there is a test where you can understand the person's agility level, and agility is nothing but a person's ability to cope with change.
Right.
And we are moving to a society which is, or a business landscape which is changing every single day. So organizations, it depends on organizations whether they want to make use of it or not. এখনো পর্যন্ত in our part of the the world, we are still very much at the mercy of our subjectiveness, of our opinion, of our way of looking at things. But these tools have evolved, and it makes sense because you don't want the best candidate. Trust me, you don't.
I wanted to hear that from
You
you.
want,
Honestly, I wanted to hear that. That's what I was driving.
You don't want the best candidate. You want the candidate who is culture fit, who is, who has the attributes to get along with the people that defines your organization, and who has the passion aligned to the position's role that is required.
Best versus right.
Yes. So you need the right fit. Okay, right fit এর সাথে সাথে অনেক সময় right fit পাওয়া গেলেও দেখা যাচ্ছে যে culture fit হচ্ছে না. Culture fit. So if you ask me as an HR director, how would I go for it? If I find that a person is 90% role fit and 10% culture fit, versus a person who is 70% role fit and 30% culture, 70% culture fit and 30% role fit, I would go for that person. Okay, because functional capability you can create, you can teach,
learn.
okay, you can learn. But once a person is not a culture fit, the person will never be a culture fit, because there's a basic difference between what the company believes in and what you believe in.
Yeah.
And if you do not believe in what the company believes in, it's never going to work. Yeah.
No, so I was saying that when you look at the top line, when you look at a mission statement, stated objective, this, that, it all sounds very similar wherever you go. But there's still a difference in culture, and that's palpable, yet not written anywhere. I mean, nobody's saying I'm going to be different in this way, I'm going to be different in. I guess, even today, I mean, today's day and age where empathy is at a premium, and it's becoming a dog-eat-dog world, and COVID has impacted all of us in a very, very negative way. Very few people have been affected in a positive way through COVID. Even in that, how do you create a bigger differentiation in culture so that it's easier for a person to select a company over other, apart from the pay package? Because right now, whatever happens, people look at what kind of pay am I getting? What is my package? What are the benefits? And then, I'm going ahead with that. So there's very little difference between two cell phone companies. I'm getting into the category, right? So why should I choose? Because they're giving me about 10,000 takas higher per month. I might as well take that. Or if I get an FMCG company, so it doesn't really matter. I'll work on brands anyways. My question is, what should the company do to, little sharply define the culture to the outside world? Especially keeping today's day and age in mind. I mean, in a normal time, fine, I can understand. But today's day and age is very, very different. And it's a far more critical time, I guess, for lack of a better word, I call it a critical time. So how does a company do that? How does a company look at it?
It's not only, just to elaborate, it's not only critical times, Casey. I think we're also dealing with a generation, a workforce generation, who require purpose. So I think what differentiates one company from the other is a drive for purpose and a demonstration that their drive is authentic. You get my point? আমি বলতেই পারি যে, at Reckitt we strive to nurture and ensure that a healthier world. আমি বলতেই পারি, বাট আমার আমার কর্পোরেট সোশ্যাল রেসপন্সিবিলিটির মধ্যে ওটা যদি প্রকাশ না পায়, আমার ব্র্যান্ড থিম্যাটিক অ্যাড গুলোর মধ্যে ওই অ্যাঙ্গেলটা যদি না আসে, আমার এমপ্লয়ি এক্সপিরিয়েন্সে যদি আমি ওটা ওদেরকে বুঝতে না দেই, তাহলে they will never feel that. Reckitt, I think I'll just share a couple of soul gratifying, that's what I say, soul gratifying experiences, and endorsements as well. So when I came, basically it was like any other, Bangladeshi company where they found, where they actually conceive HR to be a personal slash admin department, to do what is told them to do, and be at the beck and call of management, right? So I had to change that perception, and I had to create a brand for HR itself. And now we are being looked upon as, an enabler of the company. Now, I'm not going to give the specifics because we are,
Sure.
in media, but I'll tell you the results. Okay, the results are that attrition at my sales level, and you would know that sales attrition is very high across the industry. It has gone down significantly. I have had other HR directors come and tell me that what is it that you do that it's so hard to poach the people from your company. So culture, you cannot define it. It's something it's like the air that encapsulates your organization. Okay. Now, whether that is healthy air or whether that is toxic air, that depends on you. So it will not only be the processes that you put in place, it will not only be the governance to ensure, but it will also be, how comfortable are you making the environment for people to express themselves? How conducive are you making the environment for people to feel, privileged, to feel respected, to feel the urge of voicing out something that they believe in or that they don't believe in? Okay, how you bring the fun element in it. Not that Reckitt is a fun place to work in. I would have loved to make it a bit more, to my taste, which is probably on the hindsight not the best of environments to have. But having said that, there has been positive changes, and when you make those changes, communicate it to the people why it is done, how they are benefiting from it, and how you are living up to your purpose by connecting it back to what you say your belief is, people start to internalize it. They start to experience it, and then they start to believe. And once they believe, the stickiness increases.
I think what you said is very, very important. Sorry, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead, finish. No problem.
No, so যেটা বলতে চাচ্ছিলাম যে অনেক সময় কি হয়ে থাকে, একটা মানুষ চলে যাচ্ছে, হ্যাঁ, রেজিগনেশন লেটার দিচ্ছে, you cannot no more are we living in the times যেখানে একটা মানুষ একটা কোম্পানি ধরেই থাকবে। People, we have to accept the fact that একটা মানে মিলেনিয়াল বা একটা মানুষ 3 থেকে 5 বছরের বেশি একটা জায়গায় কাজ করবে না। 3 years, the person decides, okay, whether the person will leave or not. 5 বছর, if the person crosses the 3-year mark, the person might want to stay till 5 years to reap the benefits of the retirement benefits. That monetary part is there. But otherwise, people would not want to stay any longer. But having said that, যদি তাই হয়ে থাকে তাহলে কি, you would want to treat that person with respect when the person is leaving, যাতে সে গিয়ে গর্বের সাথে বলতে পারে যে সে একটা কোম্পানিতে কাজ করেছিল, যে বিদায় অবধি তাকে সেই সম্মানটা দেখিয়েছে। বাট এখনো কিন্তু আমাদের অনেক অর্গানাইজেশনের মধ্যে রয়ে গেছে, আরে ও রেজিগনেশন দিয়ে গেছে, মেক হিজ লাইফ মিজারেবল, হ্যাঁ, ওর এটা আটকে দাও, ওর সেটেলমেন্ট দিও না, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ বুঝুক, হ্যাঁ ছেড়ে যাচ্ছে বুঝুক, বা ছাড়বে না, বাট হ্যাঁ, বাট what we don't realize, it's not going to enhance the respect for the company he or she has contributed for so long, or not are we showing the due respect towards the contribution the person has made over the years.
And it's a two-way traffic. So, if he hasn't contributed, why hasn't he contributed? How much is the company
Exactly.
responsible for that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I
So,
think what you're saying is it's fine. There'll be HR process in place. Given today's time and age, HR needs to be far more empathetic, far more open to listening, and listening is a must for every human resource person, uh, for stickiness or
for
for
every
genuine,
person,
for every
for
person.
every person.
Yeah. I mean, for a corporate context, maybe for stickiness, maybe for the well-being. But I think it's a good human nature. But it also depends on the individual, because it's a two-way traffic. It's not a one-way traffic. You can't keep on
Absolutely.
giving, and not expecting return. Uh, at the end of the day, a job it boils down to transactions. You're given a job to function in exchange of a salary or some remuneration in some way.
Absolutely.
The task probably is to look at it a little differently and go beyond that transaction, go beyond the saying that, okay, sure, there is a monetary aspect to it and there is a deliverable aspect to it, but beyond that, here are two entities, here are two human beings interacting. I think that's where empathy comes into, because empathy is a very human emotion. It's not a robotic emotion. As I keep on saying, I will have great faith in artificial intelligence when it can fall in love or give birth. Before that, no. Even if even if it makes me coffee, I'm not buying into it yet. I'm still a big fan of human interaction. So I think that's where it's coming from. That's what empathy is all about. It's about the basic human values. Afrin, quickly, let me. We've covered a lot of time actually. Surprisingly, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Let me quickly come to another point which you mentioned in the beginning. Is It's a changing generation. The generation that is coming up as a productive generation today is a very different kind of people that I had seen or you had seen. Their outlook is different. Their exposures are very different. Their way of expressions are very different. As a result, there is a word that you said, which is humility. The definition is changing rapidly. um, Today, Indian government is communicating that, fight the disease, not the diseased. Yeah. Because today there are people who are shunning the diseased also. We are being suspected. It's not their fault that they're ill. It so happens they're ill. Fight the illness, not the ill person. I think we're losing a bit of humility all around us, because we're actually stooping to that level in blaming human beings for things that are beyond their control. I don't know why this is happening, but I see it around us. Uh, Maybe the definition of humility is changing. Uh, but I'm sure humility has a huge role to play in today's fractious world, in today's world where we're all, boxed in, literally, talking to each other over devices and not seeing each other. Your take on this? I'd love to hear your take on this.
Okay. You wouldn't mind me, putting a spiritual twist to this,
No,
right?
why? Absolutely not.
So,
Absolutely.
humility, I would define it as being as vulnerable as the person next to me. So, in effect, I have no right to judge another person. It's very easy to judge. It's very easy to come to an opinion. And I mean, probably it's a good thing that you have raised this point now, because I'm going to tie in everything that I have been talking about so far. So, আমি যখন বুঝতে পারবো কেসি, when I understand that somebody else is going through a problem, okay, I would think back what can be the cause of it. I will think back why the person is reacting the way the person is reacting, rationalize it, and be more sensitive towards the person while interacting with him or her, right? And at some point of time, that will kick in only when I understand and when I appreciate the fact that could have been me. As I was telling you, when I see children on the street, that could have been me. It's not me. I'm blessed. But I am equally vulnerable. And when I understand that vulnerability, when I understand that, no, I'm not, a mighty titan. I do not have my fate in my hands, it will make me humble. It is bound to make me humble. Nothing lasts forever. That is something that stems out of faith. And I think humility is going out of fashion because people, with the advent of science, as you said, with the advent of technology, the way and the pace that at which it's advancing life or defining life, faith is going out of fashion, and we are stopping to believe in something that really controls us. And when you have lack in faith, you will never be able to be humble. You will not have humility.
So here is the small point to this is what my thinking is. I believe in faith. I may not be a very religious person myself, but my faith is in humanity. My faith is in human beings. I repose my faith in human beings. Is that faith any less than a classically defined faith?
I'm not talking from please don't get me wrong, I'm not talking from a religious point of view.
Okay.
Okay, I'm also, I'm not a practicing religious person. I'm very much into the spiritual side of religion.
Okay. Got it.
So so even if you place your faith in human beings, you have to understand that it is being eroded by the process the society is going through, by the process society is progressing towards, without understanding the consequences. Every action has a consequence. So when you are in the name of advancement, are you thinking what repercussions or what, doing a pros and cons list of how the consequences are going to emerge? If you don't do that, you will not understand. And if you don't
Nobody reminds of that,
understand,
unfortunately. That's what I'm saying. People
yeah.
don't have time today. They're always short of, they're always catching up, so to say. And I think what this pandemic has done to us, and one of the things that might be a silver lining, is it's given us a bit of a gift of time so that we can, whoever can, and not all of us are as fortunate, can reflect on ourselves, can actually say that, okay, so what was I really doing? What is the silver bullet that was fired at me? And what is the silver bullet I was firing at people? And was it all
Very
worth it?
true.
Was it all worth it?
Well, so as I always I tell people this, it's very easy to take the detour, to take the shortcut, to be involved in, getting a high. I'll put it that way, okay, if that's the language people understand, how we look for, quick gratification. We look for gratification, Casey. We don't look for contentment. Which gives rise to all of this, which gives rise to, as you said, this constant, rush to be a part of everything, to feel everything at, one go. So if people could reflect and could differentiate what gratification is and what contentment is, they probably would get the answer. Okay, they would probably see where it is that stops. It's not, so people have been running beyond the means to something by misunderstanding the means to be the end.
That's fairly deep, actually. That's fairly deep. It'll take a while to fathom that one. It's actually fairly deep. No, but I see where you're coming from, and I see where you're going with this, and I tend to agree with you. I think it's very important. And one of the things that this pandemic has taught us is closeness to the family. Whoever has been with the family, I think eventually they've figured out that they're blessed. They're fortunate to have their loved ones around them. Because
I would love to hope that, and I pray people understand that.
Yeah, because we also see people who have been separated from family, who have been forced to live alone, and the loneliness that's present. Mental health, that's another topic altogether. That's something I would have loved to get into some other time, but maybe some other time we'll do that, because that is something which is also at a premium right now. We need to work really hard on our mental health. And with that, I thank you very much, Afrin, for this wonderful chat that we had.
It was
wonderful. Good talking to you. Good talking to you
Same.
after so many months. But 3 months back, we bumped into each other.
Yeah,
Yes, and
exactly.
you gave me a ride. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Can't
here's
wait
to
to
another one of them. I know. Can't wait.
can't
Can't wait.
wait for the next, yeah, yeah, to bump
Absolutely.
into you again and yeah,
Yes.
have that coffee that we're
Yes.
supposed to.
Yes. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining in. This is the deep dive of Webible episode 3. Hopefully we will bring to you episode 4 next week. Thank you, Afrin. Bye bye from now.